Israel-Palestine relations refers to the political, security, economical and other relations between the State of Israel and the State of Palestine. Israel and the PLO began to engage in the late 1980s and early 1990s in what became the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, culminated with the Oslo Accords in 1993. Shortly after, the Palestinian National Authority was established and during the next 6 years formed a network of economic and security connections with Israel, being referred to as a fully autonomous region with self-administration. In the year 2000, the relations severely deteriorated with the eruption of the Al-Aqsa Intifada, a rapid escalation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The events calmed down in 2005. With reconciliation and ceasefire, the situation became more complicated with the split of the Palestinian Authority in 2007. The violent split of Fatah and Hamas factions, and Hamas takeover of the Gaza Strip. The Hamas takeover resulted in a complete rift between Israel and the Palestinian faction in the Gaza Strip, cancelling all relations except limited humanitarian supply. As of 2015, Israel's GDP per capita is more than $35,000. And the unemployment rate is at 5%. Israel maintains a strong currency and has the best protection of property rights of all the economic systems in the Middle East. Israel is a member of the OECD and is also known as the entrepreneurship country. Due to historical reasons, Palestine has not been able to form a completely independent economic system. Foreign direct investment is almost non-existent. Israel is ranked 22 on the UN's Human Development Index ranking of 177 countries, while Palestine is ranked 119. In addition to agriculture, Palestine's main economic income is aid from the international community and Palestinian labor in Israel or other places. Joint economic cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians officials has experienced growth over the past years. Starting in 2008, Cisco Systems began a concerted effort to jumpstart the nascent Palestinian IT sector with a holistic ecosystem approach, encompassing venture capital, private equity, capacity building and direct outsourcing to Palestinian companies. The company invested $15 million toward that end and drew in other major international investors and donors, including Microsoft, HP and Google. The Palestinian IT sector has since grown from 0.8% of GDP in 2008 to 5% in 2010. Olives of Peace is a joint Israeli-Palestinian business venture to sell olive oil. Through this project, Israelis and Palestinians have carried out joint training sessions and planning. The oil is sold under the brand name, Olives of Peace. In October 2009, a new government-funded project launched promoting tourism and travel between the two areas. New business efforts and tourist attractions have been initiated in Jenin. The two regions are planning a joint industrial zone which would bridge the border. Palestinians would produce locally made handicrafts and sell them through Gilboa to other regions of the world. Another possible project is a joint language center, where Israelis and Palestinians would teach each other Arabic and Hebrew, as well as aspects of their cultural heritage. Since 2010, Israeli high-tech companies have employed Palestinian engineers. To date, the majority of them are outsourced workers. But Mellanox, a computer hardware firm, plans to hire 15 to 20 Palestinian engineers as regular employees. In 2011, bilateral trade between Israel and the Palestinian-ruled areas reached $4.3 billion, with Israeli exports to the PA amounting to $3.5 billion and Palestinian exports to Israel amounting to $816 million. According to Nader Tamani, chair of the Association of Traditional Industries in the PA, there are regular interactions between Palestinian and Israeli businessmen. At a conference hosted by the Faculty of Business and Management at Ben-Gurion University of the Negev in 2012, Israeli and Palestinian trade experts met to discuss ways of promoting cross-border business interactions. The political relationship is rooted in conflict between Israel and Palestine. The conflict is over whether or not Palestinians should be able to form its own separate country in government within a part of the land that is currently controlled by Israel. Palestine, in the years before 1948, was a piece of land surrounded by the Jordan River, Egypt, the Mediterranean Sea, Syria and Lebanon. The battle over this specific area of land has arisen due to contrasting views on who has a valid claim to the land. According to Jews, the Hebrew Bible states that Palestine has been promised to them by God. Modern-day Palestine was ancient Israel. Thus, Jews have an ancient claim to the land. However, Palestinian Arabs are unwilling and unable to acknowledge their claim of Israel. Palestinians believe that because they were in most recent control of the land, it should stay in their possession. The continual conflict between is